Good evening. It is Tuesday, January 28th, 2025, quarter after 5 p.m. And we are at a meeting of the Finance Committee, and there is a quorum of members present. So we will start off with our first item on the agenda. Number one, minutes of the previous meeting. That's from January 14th, 2025. If there's any questions or comments, we can take those. Otherwise, I'll accept the motion to approve. Okay, a motion from Gisselman. Second from Henke. A discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. Item number two, discussion and possible action authorizing the issuance and sale of up to $922,476 sewer system revenue bond, Series 2025, and providing for other details and covenants with respect thereto. And these, we do have a member from Corals, no, is it Corals or?
Yes.
Corals and Brady online. If we have any questions concerning the bond classification itself. Otherwise, I believe these bonds are in support of our 2025 budget
Yes.
for utility projects.
Yes.
So, any,
Eric is here too.
and Eric's here too if we have any, if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
So,
Or go ahead.
So it is on council for this evening, and closing with the state would be on February 10th, excuse me.
Okay. Motion from Gisselman, second. Second from Henke. Any discussion? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that carries. Item number three, discussion and possible action on approval of the First Amendment to the Master Partnership Agreement between Community Infrastructure Partners LLC agreement. Now, we looked at this last meeting, and there was some question to the actual agreement and the amendments. They weren't in the packet. It failed and was brought up for reconsideration tonight. So we have Eric here if anybody has any questions. Otherwise, we can move forward with this. Okay, Alder McElhaney?
So are we looking at just signing this contract? Is this for 24, 25, or both?
For both.
Are we sure we want to go ahead with 25? With everything that's going on with the federal government freezing funds?
Yeah, those funds are with the DNR right now. Yeah.
And
So
you're gonna-
26 is in question, but 25, yeah, we have had confirmation from the DNR that those funds are available.
And they're able to be dispersed?
That's correct. There may be a delay in the actual loan closing with some clarifications, but the funding is there and it's been obligated.
And this only goes through 25?
That's correct. Yes. Yep.
Mary Ann, do we have any idea where we're going to come up with the money for that 2025?
So so the project, 100% of the resident share is paid through grant. A portion of the water utilities portion is paid by grant, and then the balance would be revenue bonds through the state, which would be paid by water users then.
The 8 million?
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say.
Yes.
There was supposed to be like a $12 million between 24 and
So
25.
24's is
Choose
going to
something.
be general obligation debt
Right.
paid by the city.
Yes,
Yep,
And that's a 2-point-some million.
correct.
correct.
But the 8 million is going into fees. Are we going to, I mean,
It's 6 million.
6 million.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 8.
Yeah.
Oh, was it together maybe? Okay. 6 million, that's going into utility fees then?
Yes,
For-
and we did meet with Brian Romer from Ellers, provided him with updated information. He again, as when we talked about the pilot last fall, he feels like if we went in for a rate increase, obviously because we keep investing in assets based on the PSC's formula, we would need to increase rates substantially. But he felt that, we could also look at maybe a 5% increase in 2026, I think was the automatic 5%, right? But that would be, he felt we could live with that.
I have a question. So we're talking about raising the water rates 5% in 2026?
If we would need to.
Because I am not in favor of that at all.
I think right now what Brian had said too was like, we're looking at the debt payment, right? The annual debt payment. And he felt that the water utility can afford this at this point, right? Even with our 5-year capital plan. So we're also looking at, and you'll see some things on the agenda further down as well, with regards to TIDs and which TIDs, because a lot of these services, about 60 to 70% of them are in the TIDs. So we'll be looking at those options as well for the annual debt payment as well.
Yeah, because raising the water rates, I mean, we didn't reduce pilot rates, like we said, or like some people had thought or had wanted to do, me being one. And an increase in water rates to pay this would, I don't think it's right, because you're going to have, again, some people are getting this done, everybody's paying for it, and people are screaming already about their water rates, property taxes. So I think we have to be very, very careful when we're talking about raising rates. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, on an annual basis, as we evaluate our capital plan, those are decisions that the commission and the council needs to take into account, right? So when we go into this budget season for the 26 capital plan, all of that will be evaluated as it is on an annual basis. As of right now, with our 5-year capital plan as it's proposed right now, Ellers felt like that the utility could make the annual debt payment on this without, any immediate rate increases. But we can and will continue to look at our capital budgets for priorities that the council has. But again, this is a requirement from the EPA, right? So, and this is, we're doing very well as far as principal forgiveness. We don't know what 26 will bring. But right now we're doing, basically $20 million worth of work for $8 million in loan. So it's pretty advantageous to the city.
Alder Gisselman?
Well, I think I've been pretty consistent in questioning the obligation of the city of Wausau for this, and it's just I sense that I thought that this was always going to be general obligation loans. I think that it's just new that we're moving this to the water rate to the water users. I still think that as much as I'm for the replacement, I think this is just becoming too much of an obligation for the taxpayers, and I personally will be voting against it. Thank you.
So I think it's not new for 25 that it would be one of the avenues of the debt repayment would be with the water utility, right? It's all being evaluated. So a portion might be the water utility, a portion might be TID, a portion might be GO. But I would say that voting against this, basically you're giving up, 24, we're already committed, right? That work's been done. So really, I mean, unless you want to give up that principal forgiveness, right, in both years, then we have to find the money elsewhere. But to get that principal forgiveness, this has to pass so we can close on that loans and those grants. Yes.
And I think the part of the bonds that, we're talking about that is, there's two portions here. The private side replacements, that's all principal forgiveness loans. So the homeowners don't have burden, they're not obligated with a burden to have their
Right.
lead lines replaced. The public side is the part where the municipality is taking the share of that burden. And your revenue bonds seem to be the most appropriate for that portion of that our obligation. So,
Right, and we own that infrastructure, so
Yeah.
that's typically, we pay for that anyway.
So
Yep.
we are upgrading our own, the city's own infrastructure.
Right.
So. Okay, any other questions? Alder Hinkie?
I'll move to approve the First Amendment.
Okay, got a motion from Hinkie, a second? Second from Tierney. Any other discussion on this? All right, not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Okay, and then one no from Gisselman, the rest in favor. And that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 4, and the next 3 items I think are all sort of related, but item number 4, discussion and possible action regarding tax increment district number 3 project plan amendment. And you should see in your packet these several project plans for these the 3 individual tax incremental districts that we'll be speaking about this
Yes.
evening. So. I guess we'll tackle District 3 first.
Okay, so during the 2025 budget process, we discussed the fact that we would be considering some project plan amendments in 2025 for these tax increment districts to fund some of the projects that were included in the 25 budget. So with the first one, it would be tax increment district number 3. These projects that we've listed here that would be included in the project plan amendment. So the project plan amendment is not a boundary change. It's simply adding additional projects into the district for funding. And based on state law, that would entail the city creating a project plan amendment, presenting it to the Plan Commission, conducting a public hearing on it, having Joint Review Board meet the first time to consider this project plan amendment, having council consider it, and then having the Joint Review Board consider the resolution of council. So in all of these situations, we've presented a schedule that would have the Finance Committee's plan review on February 25th, the Economic Development Committee plan review on March 4th, the Plan Commission meeting and public hearing on March 18th, the Joint Review Board preliminary meeting on March 18th, council on March 25th, and then the Joint Review Board meeting after March 25th. So for tax increment district number 3, as I said, these were all included in the 2025 budget. When the last plan amendment for tax increment district number 3 was passed, we have Fulton Street as a project, but we did not include water and sewer. So we would add the water and sewer component of the project again to support the utilities and allow them to invest in capital without having to use user fees. First Street, River Drive, McIndoe Street to 300 feet of Fulton. Again, water and sewer, the project plan had the street. It did not have the underground water and sewer, so we would be adding that. The Mall Street project, for the grid, that project is going out for bid shortly, so it would pick up that. The demolition of the water plant, the Second Street, Short Street to DeKalb, including water and sewer. parking ramp improvements, and then parking on McIndoe 4th to Franklin of $238,000. So those costs would be added to a tax increment district project plan and then considered by the governing bodies as I've outlined. And of course, we have to do publications as well. Eric mentioned just at the last agenda item that he also desires to put the lead service line replacement in our project plan for tax increment district number 3. This would allow us to replace those lead service lines within the district and the half-mile boundary. So rather than going through the work and creating the project plan, we were hoping that the committees could bless the items for the project plan, basically, trying to assist us in using our time efficiently, I did include the budget that was adopted in '25, so you can see those costs were included in the budget, and also that the cash flow had incorporated those costs in the '25 budget.
Alder
Yeah.
McElhaney?
The parking McIndoe Street, is that the Y parking?
Yes.
Did that ever come through council? I questioned this in finance, and again, it is in a budget item that I don't believe was ever approved by council.
I agree.
It was actually approved through the budget process with the TIDs. It was incorporated in there as a project. It was
Alder Kearney?
listed out.
Yeah.
I also have a question on
Sure.
the 2026 lead service line replacement. I don't believe that should be in there. We have no idea what's going to happen, and I'm not prepared to vote on anything for 2026 that I would agree to that.
So
Can we vote on pieces of this?
Yes.
Because there's things in here I do not agree with, but things that I do.
Okay, you can, and I think that's what we were hoping you would do, is if there are things that you're opposed to, and you could maybe make a motion on those independently. I will say, the one thing with a project plan is it's just placing it in the project plan. It's not creating a budget. So if we were going to actually do the work in 2026, we would have to have it as part of the '26 budget. So, but we can't allocate the cost to the TID if it's not in the project plan. So this is, I guess, preparing. The other thing is, we can bring another project plan to the Joint Review Board at a future date. I guess that is an option where we are limited in the number of project plan amendments that contain boundary amendments, but we're not limited to the number of project plan amendments. So we can bring in a project plan amendment at any time. So just keep that in mind as well.
Okay, well, the thing with the Y parking is I have taken the opportunity to go past the Y different times of days, different days of the week, and I can tell you, it doesn't matter if it's 7 o'clock in the morning, if it's noon, or if it's 4:30 in the afternoon. I have never seen it full, never. Now, it gets a little dicey out there when people are picking up their kids and the back and forth, but I have never seen it full, and I've taken pictures. I just do not agree with this at this point in time. And, if the Y wants it, the Y can pay for it. But I just totally disagree with that at this point in time.
Okay, I think Alder Gisselman, did you?
Well, just a point with regard to the McIndoe Street, I think that was an infrastructure, but it never did, I'm sure, I'm not a member of infrastructure, but I thought that most likely would have passed there, but it never surfaced up to the city council. So I think that's the little bit of the background there. If it may have just ended up into the budget, but I think that that really does affect a lot of what the downtown will look like, especially with regards to Yawkey Park and the parking there on 4th Street and McIndoe. So my other question would be, how are we going to, how are we going to be, I mean, there's $1 million projects in here. Are we going to borrow for the whole bundle?
You wouldn't need to borrow for the full amount, but yes, the plan does have debt proceeds of about $7.4 million in the budget for these projects in tax increment District Number 3.
So what was that, 7 million plus?
7,400,000.
Because I know that some of the, with regard to the Fulton Street, the First Street, River Drive, with regard to the mall grid, the water plant, I mean, there is some large $1 million projects.
Because of the deadline for this TID termination, though, they were on an escalated repayment. So typically, for street projects, we borrow for a 10-year period of time. These would be on a shortened repayment to meet the termination date of the district.
And the demolition of the, and that doesn't get paid, that gets paid by the city as opposed to the water utility?
Yes, that's our proposal, again, to try to support the water utilities endeavor. And then I think the current thought was that the utility would transfer the property to the city, and we would then use it as part of a redevelopment parcel with the Wausau Chemical at some point, or we'd have a larger parcel for redevelopment.
So of the whole project, how much would we be borrowing for this year?
We would borrow 7.4 million, and the total construction costs were, let's see. Hold on. 8.6, 9.6.
It's just really a lot of money, and especially considering the, what we went through with regard to the 2025 budget and the borrowing and the controversy that it led to. This is really quite a challenge for us, I think, but I'm anxious to hear from the rest of the Finance Committee.
It does appear that the TID is healthy. It is
Yes.
generating approximately $3 million in increment annually.
Yes.
So I would think that it would be able to support that
Yes,
burden.
it will be able to. And I mean, obviously, these are kind of extraordinary projects, right? The demolition of the water utility, the mall streets are not something that, we experience on a regular basis. So I think, it's good to talk about it now, because we'll have to prioritize the spending if you don't want to do some of those projects. Because like I said, the mall project is going out for bid shortly.
Right.
And our street projects, I don't know where we are on the street projects, but we'd have to prioritize local streets, which will unfortunately have a ripple effect on lead service line replacement projects for 2025 as well, because those were going to be areas that we replace lead service line. But Eric is here, he can talk to you about that.
Yeah, I mean, when we went through the 25 budget process, these infrastructure projects were included, right? So they were approved in the 25 budget. So, the tax increment district is, it's healthy. They can afford this, and it seems like the most reasonable place to get these projects done. So,
Alder Henke?
Thank you. If we don't use the TID, we're going to have to fund them some other way then?
if you want to get them done, yeah. We are out for bid for a couple of our street projects right now.
And
So,
this is just amending the plan, so we have the ability to use the TID if we wanted to.
That's correct.
Okay, this doesn't require us to use the TID.
Right.
Right.
Right, and like for the water projects, we could, make the water utility pay for them.
Right.
That would be another option.
And then I just had one other question. The expenditure period, does that mean that we have the option to close the TID in 2026?
No, because we would have to retire the debt first.
Okay, all right,
But you have
But
to stop
2031,
spending
yes.
5 years before the TID
Yes.
closes.
okay.
So when is the TID?
September 1, the expenditure period ends September 1 of 2026, and the district would close in 31.
Okay, and that's what we have now. And we're not extending this, correct?
Correct.
We could extend it in 31 though.
You would be able to extend it for 1 year for affordable housing.
Just like we did with that TID, what, I don't know
Yeah.
what the number was.
Six.
but-
6.
Yeah, okay.
In moving forward, I mean, if you feel like certain parts of this plan you want to kind of hold off on, we can make a motion, and say less the lead service line replacement, and it seems like the other project, the First Street River Drive McIndoe Street project, since we might need more discussion on that, we could do that. I don't know how that would,
Right. And I think, you would be able to, we talked about perhaps, I know no one wants joint meetings anymore, but, like if you wanted to, we could push this back. Our only concern is, once these construction projects get let and awarded, then we have to sign the contract, and then, it'd be good to know what the funding mechanism is going to be.
Alder Tierney?
Well, for me, I would be okay with this, except the McIndoe to Franklin, which I believe is the Y parking, and I'm not in favor of the 2026 LSL, because we don't know what's going to happen for 2026 yet. We don't know because if those funds are frozen, I don't know how we would be able to go on with this. But I think we got to get through 2025 but I would not be in favor personally of those two, and I would not vote in favor of those. I would not support those two.
I think my concern with the lead service line replacements is we don't know how many lines are identified in each
Right.
TID. I'd like to see a number or a cost before we really move forward on that.
So we could, one option, if the committee wanted, is I can write the plan with them in there. We will have the allocation by districts, and we could have a year, each year in there. And if you just wanted to, pull that out, or I can do a Plan A and a Plan B with and without it.
I want it pulled out.
Okay.
That's me. There's other people in
Okay.
this.
I'm just
Okay.
trying to
That
be
would be-
helpful.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
I'm okay with adding these to the plan. I mean, it's all going to come down to budget season when we actually decide what projects to do. I'd also support it as amended, so,
Okay,
As proposed.
as proposed.
as proposed. Is that a motion, or, or do you want to just talk about this a little more?
No, I'll make the motion to approve the plan, removing McIndoe Street and the lead service line replacement for now.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second as long as we're removing those two for now.
Okay. So a motion has been made and seconded to accept the plan with the exceptions of First Street, River Drive, McIndoe Street to 300 feet of Bolton Water and Sewer, $130,000, and adding lead service line replacements in the plan for 2026 construction.
No, that was.
That's the wrong one.
That's the
Yeah.
wrong one.
Yeah,
It's the last one, the
McIndoe
McIndoe
Street to
Oh,
Franklin Street.
excuse me. Yeah, you're correct. Parking McIndoe Street, 4th Street to Franklin Street, $238,000. Yep, you're correct. And the lead service line replacements for 2026.
So just so I'm clear, the parking improvements over on Fourth and McIndoe and, okay, so the committee's saying no project there, right? So
I think
Is
we
this
want to have
going-
more discussion on that.
is this going to council? Because the council approved the budget with those in there, so I'm just trying to understand.
Well,
You-
the
you know.
project plan amendment won't be written with it in
Right.
there.
So there's no funding mechanism then, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess not.
Just so I'm clear, because we have that project ready to bid, so.
I mean, we could take it as a separate item, and I don't know, look for another funding mechanism.
Yeah, we could do that.
If
Bring it back.
You know, like, and then you'd have to do a budget mod,
Correct.
so that it would
Yep.
be a transparent process then.
Okay? Everybody okay with that? Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. The next item, discussion and possible action regarding tax increment District Number 8, project plan amendment. And,
So this one would follow that same calendar that we mentioned earlier with the project plan amendment. Again, it's just an amendment to the plan. It's not a boundary amendment. And the only item being added here is the MBX property. Again, it was included in the 2025 budget, but this would include it in the plan and allow us to spend those funds from increment in the TID.
okay,
And there is again, the TID 8 map is in there and the budget. So you can see that it was included in the budget and it is affordable for the district.
and the district is generating increments, so
Yes.
it can,
Yes.
yeah, it can handle that.
Yes.
The purchasing of the MBX property does align with our comprehensive plan, and it is one of those key
Components.
properties
Yes.
to, along the river to sort of connect all of the riverfront trail and also housing or other type of development along the riverway there. So, Alder Griswold?
But the purchase, just so I'm clear, just the purchase of the MBX would have to still come before the city council as
Yes.
purchasing the land. We have the funding for it this way, but the actual purchase would have to come at some point in time in front of the city council.
Yes.
Correct.
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Otherwise, I'll entertain a motion. This doesn't commit us to purchasing it, this just gives us a funding mechanism.
I'm assuming the lead line for 2026.
Oh, yeah.
Also,
I'm sorry, I
Oh,
forgot
yeah,
that.
lead lines, yes,
My
you're correct,
apologies.
that's in there also.
so assuming we don't want that in this one either. So I'll make the motion to approve minus the lead line service replacement for 2026. We
Okay,
can discuss that further.
I'll second that.
all right, a motion from Hinkie, second from Tierney, to accept the project plan with the exception of the lead service line replacements. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? That carries. All right. And then item number 6, discussion and possible action regarding tax increment district number 7, project plan amendment.
So this district has been serving as a donor district to TID 12, for a 3-year period. 2025's budget is the last year it was scheduled to donate to the district. Those donation funds basically funded the demolition of the mall and some of the preliminary underground work that we've done to establish the street grid there. And we have the ability to extend that for another 2 years. And so it's really time for the council to make a decision of what you want to do. You can amend the project plan to serve as a donor to TID 12 for 26 and 27. You can elect not to do that. You could adopt a resolution to extend it 1 year for housing stock improvements, like we did tax increment district number 6, or you can terminate the district. You also would be able to, if you elected, like we don't want to extend it for 2 years, we just want to extend it for 2026, you could do that as well. When we look at the cash flow, I guess the reason I'm bringing this to your attention is, the district has accumulated deficits. It's 2 big projects, in addition to helping to fund them all, and the underground streets, was relocating Wausau Chemical to the business campus. And obviously, with the mall torn down and the lack of development, we haven't seen any significant increment growth in the district. So I provided you with what the cash flow will look like if we don't extend the donation for a year, and then what it would look like if we did extend the donation for a year. And if you look at those, and then I also added in, because obviously the T-wall project is under construction. So we had Ellers do financial projections of what the value of that facility would be, and calculate what we would then have to pay T-wall based on our developers agreement. So you can see that net increment that we would get from the T-wall based on that analysis done by Ellers. And you can see that even with that development and just the existing projects, that we're going to have extended deficits. Obviously, that has been one of the concerns of council over the years. And so I showed on the second cash flow what adding that 2026 increment would do. You can see that it makes a big impact on the cash flow. 2 years would make even bigger impact. Hopefully, we will have additional development come to that district. The timing of that, we're not certain of. What those development terms would be, we're not certain of. So really just wanted to give you your options. We do need to make a decision sooner versus later, because we have an obligation to terminate this district before the assessor completes their work for the 2026 values. So if you were said, no, we're just going to terminate the district, we would need to notify the state so that they can notify the county and the local assessor to basically not put those parcels in the district anymore. And if you extend the district for donation, we would have to go through a project plan amendment with the Joint Review Board, again, following that same calendar of events that we talked about for the other projects. If you elected not to do that and just do the 1-year extension, that is the authority of the council alone, so that does not need to go to the Joint Review Board. So these are your options. I guess we don't need a decision tonight, but if, so that's.
So when does TID number 7 close?
It would close depending on the decision that council
Yeah.
makes. So
Well,
if
if
it
we
would,
make no decision, when would it close?
it would close this year, in
This year?
25.
Okay, in 25,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
So we could extend it, so,
So
We
so
can
really, it's about the 26 increment and the 27 increment that we're talking about.
okay. If we extend it for the 26 and the 27 increment, can we still keep it open a year
Yes.
past that for affordable housing?
Yes, you
So
can.
it would close in 2028?
Yes.
Okay. If we
But,
take,
but you're saying that this isn't the healthiest TID?
TID 12,
Yeah.
that's being donated to, yes. And, like I said, on the cash flow, we've got accumulated, you can see the deficits in the district hover in that $2 to $3 million range, all the way, up to 2037. If we add the donation, a one-year donation would be about $1.9 million. So that would help eliminate a lot of that deficit. And then a second year would eliminate it completely. And if you promoted a project plan amendment that said 2 donations, you could stipulate in there that you're going to bring a resolution to council, let's say it wouldn't be next fall, but the fall after, of whether you wanted to extend it for that second year, and kind of look to see what the financial projections are then. So you could do that as well.
all right. Any questions? No, it's
It's a lot.
There's a lot there.
Options. A lot of options.
a lot of options
sorry.
there with this one, yeah. So looking at the projections, it definitely, TID 12 will be in the red if we don't donate for another year. Donating for 1 year almost breaks us even.
Right.
But for 2 years, we would certainly be in the black by the end for TID 12's life. Alder Henke.
And we're currently donating?
Yes.
The last 3 years we have been
Yes.
to help with that? Okay. And is the building going up going to help that deficit?
Well, I have a column for that. Again, if you remember the developers agreement, we're allocating 80% of the increment back to the developer. So, and again, these are projections that Ellers did. Now, whether they're going to be exactly correct or not, we don't know yet. But you can see that it's at the column that says net T-wall increment. So in 2026, they were predicting a $27,000 net increment to the city that we would be able to retain. That goes up to 91,000, and then about 120 some thousand to 130 some thousand.
So it would start helping?
It would help, but it's not going to contribute significantly.
Sure, okay.
Through the period where,
Right.
where we,
I guess I would be okay extending it 1 year and then having a resolution at the end of 26 or end of 25, whenever the 26 budget is getting determined, to see if we extend it a second year.
Okay, and we can do it, like I said, then you would just submit another project plan amendment for the second year. Okay.
Sure.
okay,
I guess I will make that motion.
all right. A motion to extend the donor for 1 more year?
Well, I guess before I make the motion, further discussion, let other people weigh in on it.
Okay, anybody else have anything to say before?
I guess, I want to start closing TID districts. That is what residents want. What would happen if we close this TID district? TID 12 is underwater. How do we pay it if we close this district? Because what we need is, we're funneling money from one TID district to another, and the whole rest of the city is paying for that. So how can we close this district and still make our bills?
So the general fund supports those, when you have a long-term deficit like that, you're basically doing an advance from one fund to the other. So the general fund supports this deficit today. I would have to continue to do that in the long term. If you didn't do the donation, I would remind you that you did make a motion to, or we are closing TID 6. So next year's tax bills will not have TID 6 on it. So, that determination has already been made. So people will see the closure of that district. That is a bigger district than TID 7 is as far as increment. So they will see that come off the 2026 tax bills generated December of '25.
I would think donating for 1 year, gets us close enough, gets TID 12 close enough to solvency that we could probably close in '27, or extend for affordable housing if we wish to make that happen. So. Any other questions, discussion?
I'll make my motion.
Okay.
To extend it 1 year.
In 1 year, Alder Henke makes a motion to extend the donation to TID 12 for 1 year.
To bring a referendum back, to question this,
Yeah, not a referendum.
yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, an item back.
An
in
item back,
future year.
yeah, in the
Okay.
future.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Second from Gisselman. Any other discussion on this? Not hearing anything. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that carries. Thank you. All right. Item number 7 is a closed session item. So we have somebody to read or to make that motion. Alder Henke?
I'll move we go into closed session pursuant to section 19.85 sub 1 sub E of the Wisconsin statutes for deliberating or negotiating the purchase of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session regarding discussion and possible action on appraisal, review report, and offering price report for parcel 1, 1200 West Wausau Avenue of project ID 6999-00-16, West Wausau Avenue, Stevens Drive to North 10th Avenue.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Gisselman. This requires a roll call vote. So McElhaney?
Aye.
Gisselman?
Aye.
Tierney?
Aye.
Hinky?
Aye.
And I vote aye as well. We are going to go into closed. If we have any action on this item, we will reconvene into open and take action.